know you have arranged.
Yes, I know. I don't deserve it break. We must not.
Let me tell you, since the COVID-19 started, that should never went back. Should never went back.
Stayed on.
He stayed on with that.
Not taken by anything.
No. That is the most important thing there. Also,
We won't do another event, but we just wanted to mark the first one.
Oh, sorry.
Michael.
If we cannot trust you, who do we trust? We cannot expect this act.
Today's flight and the flight which will arrive next Wednesday. So mostly medical supplies, drugs, other humanitarian equipment. So just to give you a flavor, you are welcome to come back and inspect box by box.
We're excited.
A quick event this afternoon, really just to welcome the first Team Europe Humanitarian Air Bridge flight to Juba. This is an initiative that the European Union is doing for some priority countries of need during the coronavirus pandemic. And South Sudan is actually has received the second highest amount of cargo after Yemen. And this big plane that you saw is empty now for Egypt Air. That is the first set of cargo, and the second set will arrive on a similar flight next Wednesday. We won't have another big event like this, but we will still really appreciate the cargo that would come in on that flight. As you probably will have seen from the boxes, we have drugs, we have medical equipment, we have other humanitarian supplies. So essentially, the European Union has funded the flight, and then the NGOs and the UN agencies have been able to put on what they wanted to transport to South Sudan. And this is an initiative of the EU, which is co-sponsored for South Sudan by the Italian and French governments, and obviously done very closely with the South Sudanese government. And you know, the Team Europe, which is working on COVID-19 in South Sudan, we have our representatives here. We have, of course, France represented by the ambassador. We have Germany represented by the Chargé d'Affaires. We have the Netherlands, and we have Sweden, and also we have a representative from the Italian government today. And together, what we call Team Europe, the EU and its member states, we have managed to mobilize over 49 million euros for COVID-19. So that's something we're very proud of, and this money is also helping to keep the health system running during COVID-19 and support social systems and the economy. Of course, you will know that there's quite a few the COVID-19 support from the European Union and member states is just a part of a much larger humanitarian program with food insecurity, work on eradication of locusts, water and sanitation, and many other details. But really today we're focused on what is coming in for the COVID response. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank our counterparts in the government for the excellent collaboration on a day-to-day basis. And maybe just to highlight in closing two issues that I think we still really need to improve maybe in terms of how we collaborate together. You know, firstly, there's the issue of the safety and security of humanitarian workers. We know this is a big priority for the minister here and for the government. Unfortunately, we are still seeing humanitarian workers who are effectively sacrificing their lives. We had a death of 2 humanitarian workers only last week. So we really we want to urge the government to continue to work with us to try to create a safe and secure environment for humanitarian workers. And then the last point really is about it's also about the access of humanitarian workers, which is about how the government strikes the balance between needing to prevent COVID-19 from spreading around the country, but at the same time, how do we keep the larger humanitarian program going? So this is something that we have been talking about for a long time with particularly the Ministers of Humanitarian Affairs, Minister for Health. How do we get that balance right so that we do have a robust response to COVID-19, but we also really prioritize the food insecurity issues that humanitarians are working on, and so many other critical issues that require people to travel around the country. So Team Europe here in South Sudan, we will really continue to work with and support the government, the NGOs, the UN, the church organizations in really getting together and trying to have a robust COVID response and also a robust humanitarian response. And I think what we've seen today in the flight is just a symbol really of the support that we hope and we expect that South Sudan sees that Europe is providing, and Team Europe will continue to do that over the coming months. So let me hand over maybe first for the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, just a couple of small words from you, sir.
Thank you so much, members of the press and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the ambassadors. I would say on behalf of the government of the Republic of South Sudan, we are so thankful and appreciative to be part of the beneficiaries of the humanitarian outbreak that we today witness. It is since the COVID-19 pandemic, it's the first time today we're receiving a very strong and direct humanitarian assistance on the COVID-19, and only goes beyond that. What we want to say that, of course, the European Union has been our long partners. They had been with us from the day one, and we definitely, as a government, appreciate their support. And we'll say that as Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, we are working hand in hand with them. We are absolutely in solidarity with them, and together we'll all meet all the challenges that we're facing. Be it the challenges that are related to the movement of the humanitarian workers. We also apologize. We also stand in solidarity with all the difficulties that they have got. Our government have condemned in the strongest terms the incident that happens in Jungule, and I've just come back from Jungule today, and I'm still going back to Ghent. And we wanted to make sure that at least the community violence goes down. We find a political solutions in order for us to be able to deliver the humanitarian assistance that is needed. In short and brief, I would say thank you to the European Union for all that support that they have given to us. It's also a privilege for South Sudan to be part and partial of those who are benefiting from the air-bridge humanitarian assistance. And I wanted to assure you that we'll always be together.
Thank you.
Good evening. All of you, the protocol is observed. Actually, I'm not going to say a lot. I would just like to say thanks for God, because God is everything. What we are achieving here is really great for the people of South Sudan. I would also like to thank the European Humanitarian Air Bridge and other UN organizations which really did great work. I believe what we got today is not only one work organization, and it's not a work of only one hand. It came from the joint effort. So I really wanted to say this. Thank you so much for supporting the people of South Sudan, and especially with what I have today, although I don't know what is in the box. I cannot talk about the quantity, but I can see already there is a pretty gift outside. And for example, I heard earlier on about the medical staff, which is really, I'm so exciting because of the coronavirus. So these items is going to do a long way for the people of South Sudan. So I'm really very happy, and I'm really appealing for the good people out there, for them not to forget the South Sudan people. It's not only the coronavirus we are talking about here. There is some diseases which already taking place and life. For example, malaria and diarrhea and a lot of infections. So those also need attention for those who are really helping South Sudan. Whatever you do, don't forget about this disease I just talking about earlier on. Yes, coronavirus is around us, but coronavirus here is just something additional to what we used to do, as I said earlier on. And it's also, we have to know this, coronavirus also has no vaccine yet. The vaccine for it, or the remedy treatment for it, is just to do the right things. For example, we give you the guideline already that please, even though now I take off my mask, face mask, it's just because I'm talking to you. But since I started it, even sometimes I forget and sleep with it in my house, in my own house. So you do that, continue wearing it, and also watch your distance. These two meters, as you always have. Even now, I can forgive you because we are so excited. And I can see already you are broken my rule, but so that's what we do. Also, you got to wash your hand as usual, you always say. And also, you have to report yourself. Even if it's not coronavirus, as I said earlier on, there is some disease. Sometimes, I don't repeat that, we always talk about it. So this is what I could tell you. Also, what I always talk about is not because I disrespect people. It's just because sometimes, and this is my my personal observation. We are dealing with health, and health is something we talk about death. It's not a joke. So when we do our things, we have to what they call to separate politics, social, and then something concern death. So when we are dealing with kind like this, like coronavirus, please be kind enough to talk about that. You are talking about life. You are not talking about the politics thing or something like that. And also it's better sometimes to pass a correct message which is coming from people who know what they are talking. For example, the doctor. For example, like those who are know about health. So this is, I will leave with this one because I don't want to talk too much. And again, I would like to say that thank you so much for all who are really give the effort for the people of South Sudan. And also that one can go on behalf of my country and on behalf of my president. We are really appreciate what you people are doing there. And from here, we shall be working together, that I can assure as a minister for health. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our final government speaker, Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
Thank you very much, Team Europe, colleagues in government, government partners, and the media. It gives me much pleasure to represent the Vice President, Senator Bagai, who should have been here, but he couldn't come. So he asked me to represent him. So on behalf of our chair, who is the president himself, and the vice chair of COVID-19 National Task Force, I was happy to take part in this handing over ceremony of all those great staff, the medical staff, and all the humanitarian support that you are giving us. The government of the Republic of South Sudan would also like to appreciate the support that has been afforded by various partners it's not the first time over the months since the advent of coronavirus, of this COVID-19. As we witness yet another delivery as a response to the increased humanitarian needs of the most vulnerable communities and families in South Sudan. We particularly thank the countries from which this humanitarian cargo originated and look forward to that this precious cargo will be delivered directly to the needy populations, the intended populations. Sometimes we hear that staff have come and they have disappeared. I hope it doesn't happen. We don't want to see them in the market, but we want to see them go directly to where they're intended. So on behalf of the Vice President of the Republic, I would like to say thank you once again, and thank you to the A team, and we continue to collaborate. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I'm just going to be trying to be brief before we have a Q&A session, because I know that you might want to have some questions. But thank you for joining us today, ministers. That's a real pleasure. Friends, colleagues, partners. Usually, European countries does not physically display their support. If we have decided to do so today, it is mainly for two reasons as a Team Europe. The first one is because COVID-19 has been incredibly disruptive of the world supply chain for drugs, medical equipment, and humanitarian workers. So we had the idea within the European Union to provide an initial support to overcome logistical issues. The second reason why we wanted to have that kind of Team Europe humanitarian air bridge is to exemplify the need for a multilateral approach when dealing with global health issues. Health is a global common good. No country can combat it alone. No country will be safe until all countries will be safe. It is rarely noticed, but collectively, the EU and its member states, what we call Team Europe, is leading the international effort to combat this pandemic. We have, for instance, as the EU collectively, along with WHO, launched an initiative to finance a vaccine, so a global initiative up to 7.5 billion euro. We have also collectively, the EU and its member states, launched a support for the economy and the health system throughout sub-Saharan Africa, about 3.1 million for the European Union as such, in addition to support from individual member states, and France, which I'm glad to represent here, has launched also an initiative for sub-Saharan African countries of 1.2 billion euro. So Europe is doing a lot, but we are not that much visible. So that's what also one of the reasons why we wanted as Team Europe to invite you to see what we're doing. And as External Affairs Minister of the EU said in a statement on South Sudan last April 30th, and I quote, "The EU reiterates its solidarity with the people of South Sudan and is supporting ongoing efforts to combat COVID-19, including the tireless work of humanitarian workers." So today you've seen firsthand this solidarity in action, what Team Europe is trying to do. And I would like to commend one more time the partnership and the true good spirit in which we are working with the governments of different ministries to precisely provide that kind of support, solidarity from the European people to the South Sudanese people. I would like also, of course, to thank all our partners. I'm going to name them because you need to know who they are, and they have been absolutely critical in doing that, because as Ambassador Sinead said, the cargo has been put together by the EU and European member states, but the cargaison, the freight inside, is the one from the humanitarian organization that I'm going to list. So I would like to recognize and thank MSF France, who's there, so we can maybe have a hand.
Thank you.
Doctors with Africa, Kwan, where are they? Over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, over there. We have also MEDER, represented over there. International Medical Corps, also present as a health organization. Solidarité Internationale, a French NGO, over there. And we have NGO linked to the Sant'Egidio community from the Italian community. And last but not least, two UN programs, UNICEF, We have the country representative, Mohamed, and WFP, that everybody knows also. So we're now ready to answer your questions collectively, individually. We're here to freight that will arrive next Wednesday. So all in total, 89 tons of freight delivered for combating COVID with the support of, in coordination with the government, with the support of NGOs and programs from the UN.
Thank you.
Floor is yours. For questions.
You have some questions? We have answered all your questions.
Thank you very much. My name is Nicolo Mandil. I report for BBC World Service Radio. I just need to know the beneficiaries. What are the target beneficiaries in South Sudan? Because there's a temptation where everything ends in Juba, the national capital. So you need to clarify the target beneficiaries, all right? That's one. And number two, the management of these supplies. Who is going to manage? Thank you.
Good. I think let's get some of our partners. Mohammed, why don't you start?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. To respond to your question directly, the beneficiaries are going to be both people here in Juba, but also beneficiaries in the States. As a matter of fact, we have EPEs, which will go to many health centers throughout the country. But we also have nutrition products. And you know, most of the nutrition centers are actually out of Juba. So it's going to be national. I can assure that it's not going to be in Juba alone, but it's covered in other countries.
And then we have MSF on the NGO side to give you some insights.
Hello. Right, I'm Carrie with MSF, and thank you for the opportunity to be here today. The freight that came in for MSF on this flight will go to support people in Oil, in Old Fanga, in Ye, in Moban, and in Pigor. So this cargo, that's where some of the project sites are, where in all of these locations, it's men, women, and children who will help support. The PPE will help support the health workers to make sure they are protected, and the medicines will go into help the populations in those communities. Thank you very much.
Other questions?
Yeah, like a question for more clarification. You got medicine, you told us how much you should, but we need to know what kind of
So would one of the medical NGOs like to give a bit of detail on the medicines?
So what we are receiving with the next cargo next week is some equipment including oxygen concentrator and protection material for health staff, and the material is for 5 hospitals, 3 hospitals in Lake State and 2 hospitals in Western Equatoria State, so Hiro, Rumbek, Trevet, and Louis and Marili. So the material will be used mainly for isolation unit in the 5 hospitals and the screening in the hospital.
Any other questions? Thank you.